Hello, welcome to Math Just Got Easier for You. Today we're going to be looking at rational numbers. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, when we're thinking about rational numbers, as you see, the word ratio is found in rational numbers because ratio deals with comparing one number to another number. So, for instance, I have a fraction in the form of 1/12, which is a ratio 1 to 12. Also, ratios can be in the form of just a whole number because it can be written as a fraction or a ratio as well. 9 and 34 hundredths, which is being repeated. Your 34 hundredths is being repeated over and over and over again. So this is called a repeating decimal. And this repeating decimal can be written as a fraction as well as 5 and 97 hundredths. Also, we have the square root of 25, which is a perfect square, and that's considered to be a rational number because it is a perfect square and can be written or simplified to be 5, and 5 is a whole number written as 5 over 1 is a rational number. We also look at here, we have a mixed number. And so 8 and 6/17 can be written also as a fraction. -4, this is a negative number, also can be written as a fraction or ratio. So now, rational numbers, once again, can be written as a fraction with no zeros in the denominator. And we have to make sure that there's no zeros in the denominator. So within these rational numbers, we have integers. We also have whole numbers. We also have counting numbers, repeating decimals, terminating decimals, as well as perfect squares. So all of these are examples of rational numbers. Let's get started with integers. Now, when we're looking at integers include numbers which are both negative and positive. So we have the positive numbers, all right? So we have positive and we have the negative as well. So when we have positive and negative numbers, these numbers can be written as fractions, okay? As I said before. So a positive number such as 7. All right, that's a whole number. It's also a positive number, which makes it an integer. -7 as well. Both of these can be written as a fraction. 7 is the same as 7 over 1. And -7 can be written as -7 with a denominator of 1. All right, so integers are rational numbers. Let's go to the next one. All right, the next category, our integers can be broken down into whole numbers. And that's where we'll go next. So what is a whole number? A whole number are counting numbers. Those are numbers that you can count on your finger, but it does begin with 0. So you can have 0, you can have 9, you can have 143. All of these are whole numbers, okay? Whole numbers. They are positive numbers that begin with 0, and these are your counting numbers that you can count on your fingers. Okay, so those are considered to be rational numbers as well. All right, so now whole numbers, once again, as I said, are counting numbers, and with counting numbers, those are the numbers on your fingers. It does not include 0, but it does include 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. Okay, all of these numbers are rational numbers because they can be written as a fraction. 1 is the same as 1 over 1. That can be written as a fraction and so forth. So those are your counting numbers, numbers that you can use your fingers to count. Like I can count my toes, I can count people and so forth. Now, so we have integers, which are broken down into whole numbers, and whole numbers broken down into counting numbers. Now, not only are those rational numbers, but we're going to also look at something called repeating decimals. And repeating decimals, as I said before, are decimals that repeat after the decimal sign. So I have 4, and if I have after my 4 a decimal, and I have 1, 1, 1, 1, and this goes on forever and ever and ever and ever, is considered to be a repeating decimal. And repeating decimals can be written as fractions. Therefore, repeating decimals are rational numbers. Okay? Not only are repeating decimals, but we also have terminating decimals. Now, when we're looking at terminating decimals are, for instance, I had 0.9. That's the same as saying 9/10, okay, or 9/10, which is a rational number. It's a fraction. Also, if I have 1 and 437 thousandths. Okay, so if I wrote that, that would be 1 and 437 over 1,000. And as you see, that is a mixed number, which can be written as a fraction or improper fraction. So all terminating decimals are rational numbers as well. All right, so the last one we're going to look at is going to be our perfect squares. Okay, now perfect squares, as I said before, as I showed you before, those are your numbers, those squares that are perfect. So for instance, square root of 9, that means what whole number can I multiply times itself to get 9? If I cannot do a whole number, multiply a whole number times itself to get that number, then it's not a perfect square. But since I know that 3 times 3 gives me 9, that means square root of 9 is a rational number because it can be written as a whole number. And we know that this whole number can be written as 3 over 1, which makes it a rational number. So square root of 9 is a perfect square, and it is a rational number. Square root of 36 also is a perfect square and a rational number because 6 times 6 equals 36. So that is another example of rational numbers. So as we've just learned, all of these are rational numbers, beginning with our integers, our whole numbers, counting numbers, repeating decimals, terminating decimals, as well as perfect squares. So I've just showed you how to find rational numbers. Please make sure that you subscribe below and so that you can get further notices on upcoming tutorials. Thank you so much. Have a good day.